In today's video, I am going to teach you about mutable lists and iterators in Kotlin. Hello and welcome to Learn with Tam. I'm Tariq Ali Mirza and my goal is to make you a kick-ass Android developer. If you are new here, I suggest that you watch this series from the beginning to get the most out of it. In the previous video, I introduced you to lists. In today's lecture, I will begin by teaching you about mutable lists and then go on to show you the various methods that you can use to iterate over a list in Kotlin. So, without further ado, let's jump right into our system and get started. As always, let's open Android Studio. Now click on Create New Project. Select No Activity, then click on Next. Give the project a name. Now click on Finish. Once your project is ready, go to the Project Explorer and open the App folder. Then open the Java folder. Then right-click on the package name, select New, then select Kotlin file. Make sure that you have file selected in this list. Then type the name of your file. And then press Enter. Now, let us create the entry point function. Let me first write the code to create the same list from the previous lecture. On line number 4, I created a variable named sentence, and on line number 5, I am splitting that sentence by word. So, the words variable contains a list of words that are present within the sentence and they are present in the same order. At this point, let me print this list so that we can see what it looks like. Now I will run the program. According to the printed output, our list contains the words "We are here to learn Android development" with an exclamation mark. That is exactly what we expected. Don't you think the word Android should start with a capital A? Let me grab this item and try to change it. On line number 9, I have created a variable named index in which I am storing the index of the word Android. On line number 10, I am using that index within the indexing operator to access that element and then modify it to change the A to capital A. But as you can see, the IDE is complaining. Let us see what the IDE wants to say. According to the IDE, there is no set method providing array access, and it is asking us to change the type to mutable list. As I stated in the previous video, the list of method or the split method create immutable lists. So, modifying the elements of such list is not possible. If you remember, in a previous lecture, I told you that variables can be mutable or immutable. Similarly, collections are also mutable as well as immutable. Immutable collections do not allow addition, removal, or modification of any element, whereas mutable collections allow that. In this case, we are working with immutable collection or list to be specific. Let me show you how we can convert this list to a mutable list. On line number 12, I am using the mutable list of function to create a mutable list and saving it in the variable mutable words. On line number 13, I am calling the toMutableList method on my immutable list. The toMutableList method takes all the contents of our immutable list and stores them in a mutable list. Now let me print all these three lists so that you can see that they look exactly the same. Now let me comment out the error on line number 10 and then let us run this program. As you can see, the first output is from line number 7, the second output is the mutable word list which has exactly the same element that we put in it, the second word list also has the same elements, and the third immutable word list also has the same elements. So, all three lists now have the same content. The only difference is that the list named words is immutable, whereas the mutable word list or another word list are mutable. Now that we have access to a mutable list, let us change the small a to capital A in the word Android. As you can see, on line number 19, I am using the same variable that I created on line number 9. But this time, I am assigning it the value from the mutable words list. And then, on line number 20, I am using the indexing operator providing it the index to reference that exact word and then changing it to Android that starts with a capital A. Now let me once again print this list so that we can see what our list looks like. Now let's run the program. If you look at the output, it says that after replacement, the list looks like we are here to learn and the Android begins with a capital A. That is exactly what we were trying to do. So, if you want to modify, add, remove elements from a list, then you have to use a mutable list. If you don't wish to do any of that, then you can work with an immutable list. Moving on, let me now show you how you can add and remove items from a mutable list. If you wish to add an item to the end of a mutable list, you can do that using the add method. And if you want to remove an item at a particular index, you can pass that index to the remove at method to remove that item. Let me write a couple of examples to show you how it's done. On line number 26, I am using the remove at method to remove the last item of the mutable words list. And on line number 27, I am printing the list after the removal of that item. On line number 28, I am adding a new item to that list. And that item is training. And on line number 29, I am printing the mutable words list after this operation. Let me now run this program. The first output is, after removing development, the list becomes we are here to learn Android. The word development has now disappeared. In the next operation, we added the word training. So the output is, after adding training, we are here to learn Android training. Let me change that back to development. As you can see, on line number 31, I am changing the last word back to development. And on line number 32, I am printing the list after it has been changed. Let me run this program so that you can see it for yourself. As is visible in the console window, after removing development, the word development disappeared from the list. After adding training, the word training appeared in the list, and after the last operation, the word training was replaced by the word development. And now you know exactly how to add, remove or replace words in a mutable list. It is also worth noting that you can use the plus equal to operator as well to append item to the end of your list. Let me show you how it's done. On line number 34, I am using the plus equal to augmented assignment operator to add the element series to the list, and on line number 35, I am printing the list after the addition. Let me comment out the previous print statement so that we can concentrate on this output. And now, let's run the program. As you can see, after adding series, the output becomes we are here to learn Android development, and then there is the word series, which once again looks absurd, so we will remove it. Since the word is at the last index, we can use the last index property of the mutable words list, and now, just to be sure, let me print the list. Now let's run the program. As you can see, after adding the word series, the list had the extra series, and after we removed it using the remove at method, it no longer has the word series. Now, let us look at the various methods that we can use to iterate over a list. To begin, we will be using for loops. Let me show you how we can use a for loop to iterate over a list. On line number 41, I am creating a for loop and asking it to create a variable named I, which ranges from 0 up to the last index of the word list. And within that loop, I am first printing the value of I and then using the value of I to reference each element of the words list. Let me run this program so that you can see the output. As you can see, the output is exactly what we expected. Instead of using the range operator along with the numbers 0 and the last index, we could have used the indices property too. Let me show you how that works. On line number 45, I am doing the same thing that I did in the previous example, but a bit more elegantly. The property indices of a list returns the collection of all valid indices of that list. We are using the list of all valid indices and asking the for loop to iterate over it one by one. And within the for loop, we are printing that index along with its value. Let me now run this program so that you can see that this works exactly like the previous example. The outputs are identical, so it works exactly the same way, just that this is a better approach compared to the previous one. Now, let us look at an even better approach. On line number 49, I am asking the for loop to iterate over each of the elements of the words list, and I am storing each of those elements within the variable named word. And then within the for loop, I am simply printing that word. Now let me run this program to demonstrate that this method works as well. As expected, each of the elements of that list was printed on a new line. But you must be wondering, what about the index? What if I need the index within the loop? Let me show you how you can get that. The withIndex method that you see on line number 53 returns a collection containing all the indexed values of the list. An indexed value is nothing but a Kotlin data class which contains the index along with the item on that index. Let me show you how it looks like by printing the entire collection returned by the withIndex method. Now let's run the program. As is visible in the output, the withIndex method helped us use the index as well as the value on that index within our for loop. On the last line, you see printed the entire collection that is returned by the withIndex method. And as you can see, the first index is 0 and the value on that index is v, which is exactly what we expect. What we are doing in the for loop is called destructuring. We already know that the withIndex method will return two values, one for the index and the other for the item on that index. Since we know that the index value comes first, we are using I to store that, and the value always comes second, so we are using the second variable word to store the value. You can give whatever name you want to I and word. I just prefer it this way. All iterable collections within Kotlin have a method called forEach. This method allows you to iterate over the collection and execute a block of code on each one of its elements. Let me show you how it is used. On line number 60, I am calling the forEach method of the collection words, and within that method, I am using the it variable which is provided to me by default by the forEach method. As you can see, there is an it variable of type string that is provided to me by the forEach method. On the first iteration of the forEach method, the it variable will contain the first value from the list. On the second iteration of this forEach method, the second value will be contained within the it variable, and so on until the last value is found, at which point this forEach method will terminate. Let me run this program so that you can observe the same. As you can see, the forEach method made our job even more easier. If the variable name it sounds confusing to you, you can also provide your own variable name. Let me show you how. As you can see, I have added the variable name word along with a special operator. This operator is nothing but a dash and a greater than sign. And if you are wondering if we can get the index within this method, then there is a special method for that as well. It is called the forEach indexed method. Let me show you how that works. The forEach index method gives us access to two values. One is the index and second is the item on that index. I am using the I variable to store the index and the word variable to store the item on that index. And within that forEach index method, I am executing the block of code which simply prints the index along with the word. Let me run this program so that you can see the output. And it did exactly what we expected it to do. It printed the index along with the word. That is exactly what we were trying to do here. Now let us look at iterators in Kotlin. The sole purpose of the existence of iterators is to allow you to iterate over collections. So, it is only fair that we cover them as well. And as you will see, they are very powerful. Let me show you a few examples. Creating an iterator is very simple. You have to use the iterator method on your list, and it returns an iterator to you, which you can store in a variable. And that is exactly what I am doing on line number 70. I am using the iterator method on my list, which returns an iterator, and I am storing that iterator within the variable named iterator. And now, let me show you how you can use this iterator. On line number 72, I am using the hasNext method on my iterator to check if it has a next item. And I'm asking my while loop to continue looping as long as the iterator has another item in it. And within that while loop, I am using the next method on my iterator to get the next item. The first method hasNext checks whether there is a next item, and the next method fetches that item. And I'm using the print statement to simply print the item that is fetched. Let me run this program so that you can see the output to understand better. On line number 70, when the iterator was created, it was just at the beginning of the list, that is, before the first element. And on line number 72, it checks whether the iterator has the next element, that is, it checks whether it has any element to iterate over or not. And since our iterator has an element, it enters this while loop, and within that, it prints the first element. And after getting the next element, it once again checks whether there is another element, and then it gets that element, and it does so as long as there are elements to get. And once all the elements are printed, the while loop terminates. And since our list had only 7 elements, all 7 elements are printed to the console, and after that, the loop is terminated. A common iterator can only move in one direction, that is, from the start of a list to the end of a list, which leaves a lot to be desired. Therefore, Kotlin has a special iterator specifically for lists, which can move both in the forward direction as well as the backward direction, which gives you not just the access to the next item but also to the next index, and similarly for the previous item as well as the previous index. Let me show you how it works. On line number 77, I am creating the list iterator by calling the list iterator method on my words list. On line number 78, I am simply printing moving forward because that is what we are going to do with this iterator right now. We are going to move in the forward direction, that is, from the beginning of the list to the end of the list. And while we are using the list iterator to move from the beginning to the end, we are going to print the next index along with the next item. Let me run this program so that we can see that this is working. The output is moving forward, and then the index along with the item on that index. That is exactly what we expected. Now, let us see if the iterator still has a next element. On line number 83, I am using the if statement to check if the list iterator has a next value, and whatever the answer is, I am inverting it using the negation logical operator. And if there is no next value, then I am printing iterator is at the end of the list. Let me run this program so that we can see it being printed to the console. As you can see in the last output, iterator is at the end of the list, which means that at present, after this while loop is executed, iterator reaches the end. Since the iterator is at the end, we cannot move forward. So, let's move backward. On line number 87, I am using print to print moving backward to indicate that from this point onwards, I am going to move my iterator back. On line number 88, I am asking the while loop to keep looping as long as the iterator has a previous value. On line number 89, I am using the print statement to print the previous index along with the previous value. Now, let me run all of this together to see the combined output. We started off by moving forward and printed the index along with the item on that index, one after the other. And then we reached the end of the list, and then we started moving backward. And now we are printing elements from the last index first. The first item to get printed was development. The second one was Android, that is, we are going in the reverse order. And the last item was the first item of the list. The list iterator is very powerful. It allows you to move in both directions as well as access the index along with the value in both directions. So, it gives us a lot more control compared to the common iterator. Now, let us look another type of iterator, that is a mutable iterator. A mutable iterator helps you traverse over your mutable list as well as modify it. Just like we previously created iterator by calling the iterator method on an immutable list, we can create a mutable iterator by calling the iterator method on a mutable list. Let me show you how it works. On line number 93, I am using the iterator method on a mutable list, which returns a mutable iterator. On line number 94, I am telling the while loop that I want to iterate over this iterator as long as it has the next element. Within that while loop, I am getting that next element using the next method and checking if that element is equal to the text Android. And if that element is equal to the text Android, then we are removing that element. Let me print the value of the list after this operation so that you can see how it modified the list. Now let me run this program. As you can see, our mutable words list now has only 6 words within it. We are here to learn development. The word Android has disappeared. We removed it on line number 96 within the while loop. Although the mutable iterator allows you to remove elements, it does not give you the option to add new elements or modify existing elements. Nor does it give you the option of moving backward. The only option we have is to move forward. But just like we have the list iterator for immutable list, we have the mutable list iterator for mutable list as well. Let me show you how that works. On line number 103, I am using the list iterator method on my mutable list to get a mutable list iterator, and I am saving that iterator within a variable named mutable list iterator. On line number 104, I am using that iterator to iterate over each element of my list using a while loop. On line number 105, I am checking if that next element is equal to development, which is that the next element is development. If the next element is development, it means that we have reached the end of the list. And then I am setting the element at the end of the list to the word Android. And after that, I am using the add method to add another element to my list. Once the while loop is terminated and my iterator has reached the end of the list, I am printing the mutable words list so that you can see the contents of the list after the operations. Let me uncomment the previous mutable iterator so that this makes sense. Now let's run the program. On line number 100, we printed the mutable words list, and that list did not contain the word Android. On line number 111, I am once again printing the mutable words list, and this time it does contain the word Android. So, what happened here? In the earlier loop, while moving forward, we deleted the word Android from the list. So, when it got printed on line number 100, it did not have the word Android in it. Then, while we were using mutable list iterators and reached the word development, we modified the word development to be equal to Android by using the set method. And after changing the word development to Android, we are once again adding the word development at the end of the list. And after doing all of that, we are printing the mutable words list on line number 111. And it once again contains the word Android as well as development. So basically what I have done is, I use the mutable iterator to remove the word Android, and then I use the mutable list iterator to add the word Android back to it. And while doing so, I demonstrated the use of the add method as well as the set method of a mutable list iterator. Now, let us use the mutable list iterator to move backwards as well. On line number 114, I am using the same mutable list iterator, and this time I am moving backward because the mutable list iterator is currently at the end of the list. Now, we want to move backward from the end to the beginning. And while moving back, I am checking whether the previous element is equal to Android. And if that condition is true, then I am setting that element to be equal to Android with a capital A. On line number 120, I am once again printing the mutable words list. And now, let me run the program so that you can see all the outputs come together. Before we started working with the mutable list iterator, we printed the mutable words list on line number 100. And that is exactly what you see over here. After that, we added the word Android to our list. And that is exactly what you see printed here. At this point, our iterator had reached the end of our list. So, we started moving backward. And while moving backward, we replaced the word Android with the word Android with a capital A. And then printed the list. And that is exactly what we see here. As you must have noticed in today's lecture, there are many ways to achieve the same thing in Kotlin, which makes your life easier as a programmer. Once you begin writing code to solve real-world problems, you will start appreciating the existence of all of these methods. That's all about lists for now. Next up, we are going to learn about an unordered collection of unique items called sets, but that will be covered in the next video. That's all for today's video. As always, feel free to share your valuable thoughts and feedback in the comment section. If you like the video, smash that like button. If you are new to the channel, consider subscribing. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to receive timely updates of all future uploads. I'll see you in the next one.